Where's everybody going? Bingo? Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Big Chetty, and today we're talking about Resident Evil 9, RE9 Requiem. I was gonna make a gamer review for this game where I'm making jokes, pretty similar to how I've made some reviews for older games on my channel. You can see them in the list there. And I still might do that. I still might make a video on this game in that style. Because I think this is a pretty solid game. I really enjoyed my time with it. But if you want the quick spark notes or in a nutshell of what I think of RE9, I think it's a very solid game. I'm happy that Capcom was able to make a very fun and engaging game. Well, technically, this is the ninth numbered or main entry Resident Evil in the series, but this is like Resident Evil number 23, 24. There's a lot of spin offs. But overall, I'd say the game is actually a love letter to both types of Resident Evil fans. If you've been playing the games for the last few years, you know that Resident Evil 7 pretty much reinvented the wheel for Resident Evil because Resident Evil 5 and 6 and a couple of the spin offs up until that, they weren't in a good spot. The PS3, Xbox 360 generation, Resident Evil was not the same franchise it was. And RE7 really turned a corner for the series because it was headed into a really bad place. And RE7's focus on horror, putting the camera into a first person view for the first time, was very interesting. And it told a very different and unique story uh, compared to the other Resident Evil games. Obviously, still horror, still fantasy, a little bit, that stuff going on. But this is more traditional horror movie. Whereas I feel like Resident Evil's got a little more sci-fi in it, a little more like science horror. There, a lot of the monsters are test tube monsters. Whereas in this one, it was a little bit different. And of course, you had RE8, which sees you continuing your story from RE7, and sort of really, it feels like a modern homage or perhaps just a tribute to the original Resident Evil 4, where it's Leon, it's action packed, more monsters. There's a store you can buy stuff at, upgrade your weapons, and there's different ways to sort of progress through the game that'll, if you invest more in the pistol or if you invest more in the shotgun, if you want more, sniper ammo, whatever, however you see fit to dispatch the monsters in front of you, it's definitely meant, you're definitely encouraged more to fight more monsters in games like RE8, where in RE7 it's more encouraged that you either disable, shoot to get around, or just avoid monsters completely. And to me, it's clear that RE9's core gameplay design was to blend both of these sort of Resident Evil styles. You have the horror, spooky, sneaking around. You don't have a lot of ammo at all. Very survival horror. You've got next to no bullets. You're alone in a haunted mansion, and you got to figure it out. And that's Grace's gameplay. And then you go back to play as Leon Kennedy, the protagonist from Resident Evil 2, 4, and 6, whose gameplay style is more action oriented, especially number 4, which kind of like that also reinvented the series as well. But his gameplay is where that action orientated sort of stuff comes from in Resident Evil 8, where again, there's a shopkeeper, you can upgrade the weapons. Leon also has access to a parry, so if you time an attack right from a monster, you can block the attack, and that opens you up to attack them. Um, and there's actually even a point in the game in RE9 here where you get like this bracelet, and essentially you're in a destroyed part of Raccoon City, and you're encouraged to hunt and destroy other zombies and monsters because you earn credits for doing so. You can take those credits to then upgrade at a store. It's not a creepy merchant this time. It's just some sort of weird Teemu box that you can upgrade your weapons at. But the point is, you are highly encouraged to get into fights, into action, because you will be rewarded for so. Whereas with Grace, it's kind of both. Now, why I say that Grace's gameplay isn't a complete sort of inspiration of RE7, where it is almost all survival horror and you have to watch all your ammunition, you have to be careful, is that Grace does get rewarded for destroying certain monsters. She has access to something called a blood vial sampler thing. I'm not even sure what it's called, but the point is there's certain enemies that you can kill you can fill up this blood vial sample thing with, and you use that blood to craft new and useful items, and in some cases, extremely powerful and rare items. There was a needle that you could craft in the game that if you snuck up on a zombie and injected them with it, they would blow up and just puff up and just explode essentially with blood and guts. And that's important because with Grace, a lot of the zombies can get back up because she only has access to a little tiny pistol. So it is difficult to kill things with Grace unless actually you use the. She does have a most powerful revolver, the Requiem. Leon does give her that giant revolver, which seemingly weighs more than her. You can actually craft ammo for that revolver as well, so you can fully dispatch enemies, but you won't have a lot of ammo for that weapon, and your tiny pistol that's going to be your main defense for the game. But if you find a way to dispatch the enemies and you look around the map for more blood piles, you can craft more useful items and you do have the opportunity to clear the way a little bit as Grace, giving the gameplay a little more variety. Now, as far as gameplay goes, there is more to talk about, but I think I'm going to save that for my actual long sort of essay style review of the game. But I just want to say overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good game. I enjoyed the gameplay from both characters. I thought it blended very well. I actually really enjoyed the story here. I thought the story was actually really solid. Is it anything that's going to blow your socks off? I don't think so. Maybe for a couple RE fans, it might. But what this story does do, I think, is it actually grounds the story. Because unfortunately, Resident Evil, it's one of those series similar to like Kingdom Hearts or Metal Gear, where there's like 1,000 things you got to learn to get to this point. So many different games, movies, series, canon, non-canon. The web of Resident Evil is very confusing, and there was certainly I could tell that there was references in this game that I was just not understanding because I haven't played all of them. I played most of them, but I haven't played all of them. So there was a few things I'm like, I don't know what that is. They're referencing something, but I don't know. But the ending, I don't know if I should spoil it or not. Should I spoil it? No, I'm not going to spoil it here. No. But what I will say is that the ending and sort of the climax, the big reveal of this game, essentially closes the door on a lot of things from the previous games, but also it opens the door for a lot for a potential. I'm at least Resident Evil 10 or Resident Evil X, which I'm sure they're going to call it. But the next few mainline Resident Evil games, it's opened a massive door, and there's a lot they could actually play with there. But overall, again, I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to stream it here on my YouTube and my Twitch channel. I'm now live 5 days a week. Come say hi, drop a like, drop a follow, and just have some fun. I had a lot of fun streaming the game. I enjoyed the gameplay, the guns, the horror, the jumps, the scares, the environments, the story, and the references to Resident Evil 2. I loved being back at the RPD after the big bomb went off. That was really cool to be back there with Leon, sort of, I think for him, like 3 decades later. And pretty much it is 3 decades later for us here, too, if you go, the original timeline of Resident Evil, like 1998 or whatever. So very cool, very fun. Love the game. But there is something I want to talk about. If I had to criticize this game, and if you're to take what other critics are saying about this game, is that it is a little on the short side. If you were to measure this game's height, it would be closer to my height, which is Wario height, not NBA player height. It is not that long. And the main critique or the main talking point when discussing sort of the faults of Resident Evil 9, it's that this game is full priced wherever you are. It is full for in Canada. I think it was $89.99, which I think comes to like over $100 Canadian. Kind of crazy. But $69 or $79.99 in the US. It's full price wherever you go, and people are debating whether or not this game's length is equal to the price that you pay. And I actually think it's a very interesting conversation because the reality is there is no way to quantify fun and time spent versus the amount of money that you paid where you feel that there is an equal and happy exchange. It's very hard to put that into a mathematical equation where you can say X equals Y plus, like you can't, it can't be done. Besides all the variables involved in that, this is also an art medium, and unfortunately, that means it's subjective. a lot of people can agree it's a good game or a good movie or a good book or whatever, but people are allowed to disagree, and they should. They should feel their own, they should have their own thoughts and opinions about something. So if someone feels the game is too short, they're allowed to feel that way. And in the case of Resident Evil 9 Requiem, I think a lot of those critics are right in saying, yeah, the game is a little too short. But I also think they are very wrong because I guarantee they didn't play all of the game. Most of, if not all of the Resident Evil games to ever come out, at least the mainline entries, have something that I think really goes completely under a lot of people's radar these days, or at least for mass audiences, and that's replayability. In my eyes, a game with good replayability is a game that no matter how many times you've played it, you still get an itching once in a while to come back. Games like Minecraft, Stardew Valley, where you paid a certain price for that game X number of years ago, and your dollar is still stretching years later because you may be having a bad day, a bad week, or maybe you're just like, man, I haven't built a complete monstrosity in Minecraft in a while. We should get the boys together for 2 weeks, be obsessed with it, and then stop playing for another 2 years. Why do we do that? And the truth is, RE9 does not have the same replayability that games like Minecraft or Stardew Valley or any other game that you could think that would be similar to that have. It just doesn't have the same replayability. But it does have some. And a lot of RE games have some solid replayability. Resident Evil 2, for example, offers you two characters, Leon and Claire, giving you two different perspectives of the nightmare that is the Raccoon Police Station. But there's also Leon A and Leon B, Claire A and Claire B, giving you, the player, at least 4 playthroughs with some variation in gameplay, different items in different spawns or different areas, and sort of a full experience of the game and the police station and the horror that it is. So while I agree that, yeah, RE games are not the most replayable games of all time, there is a lot of value in their replayability. At least a second run through. If you're not going to do all 4 in RE2 Remake, or you're not going to get every treasure in RE4, there is some merit to playing the game through again, seeing where certain things are. A new game plus with keeping your weapons and upgrades from the first run. There is something there. So I actually don't think people's critiques of RE9 is completely fair unless you've done at least 2 playthroughs of the game. Matter of fact, I haven't made the video yet, the longer essay form video, because I've only done 1 playthrough. I played it on stream. I still have to play through the game again on New Game Plus, so I can give you a full experience of the game. And to get us back to the broader argument at hand, people were saying that RE9 will run you about 12 hours of gameplay for a full-price AAA game. And they're saying that's not fair. That's not right. But I don't think you can totally quantify a game's value just on its runtime, especially if these guys, or critiques, or reviewers, or people, whoever's doing it, aren't playing the whole game or getting most of the runtime experience. On top of that, I would also like to put into question some of these players' runtime, or some of these critics' runtime, because I finished the game in about 16 to 17 hours. It was somewhere around there. And I was looking for everything. I was looking for extra ammo, bullets. I was backtracking to make sure I solved all the puzzles, which, to be fair, there aren't that many in this game. But I was looking for a way to backtrack, like, oh, I need to go back to get that item, which is classic Resident Evil, to run back and, oh, I need that item later. Now I can get it. I did all that without looking anything up. And I think on your first playthrough, if you beat it in less than 12 hours, on your first playthrough, I think you did it. I think you looked things up. I think you cheated yourself out of time. I can't prove that all these people did, but I can assure you, I know in my soul that when they got to that moon star puzzle, they looked it up because they couldn't bother to look at the contextual clues around them, the files where you can read what to do. Or I don't know, the moon puzzle basically tells you how to solve it with a picture in the office. The solution is right there. But I guarantee some people still looked it up and cheated themselves out of time. Now, in your second or third playthrough, look it up. Who cares? Have the cheat list, have the solution list with you so you can get through it faster. Why not? It's your second and third playthrough. But on your first playthrough of any Resident Evil game, I don't know why you would do that. And I suspect some people did. So, yes, I do agree that RE9 is a little on the short side. It feels like it might be a little closer to like RE2 in length. And I do think we could have used perhaps maybe one more section as Grace and one more section as Leon. I really enjoyed sort of it wasn't completely open world, but it felt open world when you were with Leon in the broken part of Raccoon City. Another section with Grace sneaking around and one more section with Leon, I think would have gone a long way. It's not padding, it's not fluff, it's not filler, but just sort of a little more gameplay with each. Maybe perhaps another hour or two with most, I think would have been perfect. But I'm still satisfied with the amount of gameplay I got for the price that I paid, because when I play through the game again, my playtime will be somewhere around the 24 to 30 hour mark. Maybe a little bit less because I play a lot of Resident Evil and I'm I'm pretty good at it. I'm not. Lastly, before I go, I just wanted to bring up one thing. That Leon section in the game where you're sort of walking through the ruins of Raccoon City, I thought was very cool. And take this as a prediction. Take this as something that I think would be very cool. I'm not sure what. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But I think we could potentially get an open world Resident Evil. And I think that would work very well with this RE engine that they have. I think there's a lot of potential for that. Walking through the ruins of Raccoon City or perhaps somewhere else in a more open environment, sort of still solving puzzles or stuff like that, but maybe even akin to like Zelda or something like that. You know what I mean? Like perhaps there's an open world and overworld like Zelda, but every time you walk into a dungeon per se or a new haunted mansion or new haunted house, it would be like Resident Evil, like slash Zelda, where you have to solve puzzles, get a key item. You pick up the crank in the one dungeon and you can use it in the overworld. And then you unlock something in the overworld that's going to help you in the next dungeon or something like that. I think there's a lot of potential there, and I think there's some experimentation we could do in Resident Evil 10. I don't know. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me today. Thank you so much for watching. What did you think of RE9? Let me know in the comments. Do you think RE9 was a good length? Did you enjoy the gameplay? How do you quantify your replayability? How do you value your games? I want to know. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much, guys. I love you so much. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.